courageous, valiant, honorable. For nearly 2.5 centuries, brave soldiers have been protecting America's freedom. And from its early beginnings of statehood, proud Minnesota soldiers have played integral roles in America's military campaigns, from the famed battle at Gettysburg to the infamous Red Bulls active today. And at Camp Ripley near Little Falls, the Minnesota Military Museum has proudly served to document and remember Minnesota's service to America's military. The Minnesota Military Museum, where heroes live on. Located on the base of beautiful Camp Ripley, the Military Museum is Minnesota's largest and most comprehensive repository for military artifacts and records. Its roots are traced back to 1976, when the Military Historical Society of Minnesota was organized for the express purpose of establishing a state military museum. Originally housed in a former enlisted men's club, the museum first opened to the public in 1977. As a 501c3 nonprofit organization, its mission is quite simple: to strengthen the public's understanding of how armed conflicts and military institutions have shaped our state and national experience. This important mission is accomplished by documenting, preserving, and explaining military history as it was lived by the people of Minnesota. The goal is to have visitors gain knowledge as to why and how events unfolded as they did throughout history, and to gain an appreciation for the actions and sacrifices of Minnesota citizens who served in all branches of service and on the home front in times of peace and times of war. As the museum continued to grow and expand over its first decade, the decision was made to move it to its present location in 1987. This main building was originally constructed in 1931 as a regimental headquarters for summer field training with the Minnesota National Guard. Over the years, several adjacent buildings have been remodeled to provide space for artifact storage, a library, archives, a classroom, and vehicle exhibits. The entire museum complex now covers nearly 2 acres and includes several buildings. The Minnesota Military Museum's collection holds over 50,000 artifacts, from uniforms to weapons and equipment, insignia, and flags, to training aids and unique personal items, from letters to coconuts. But objects alone cannot tell the humbling and heroic stories of our military. That's why uniquely powerful narratives support the artifacts to give visitors a wealth of knowledge and information. The museum currently houses 6 impressive permanent exhibits. America at War explores the causes, conduct, and consequences of America's major wars since Minnesota's statehood in 1858. Warfare is neither glorified nor downplayed in this exhibit, and its goal is to assist visitors in gaining a deeper appreciation for the achievements and sacrifices of those who fought. The exhibit chronologically follows Minnesota's military history, from the Civil War and Minnesota's incredible heroism at the Battle of Gettysburg, to the Spanish-American War, through World War I, where nearly 120,000 soldiers from Minnesota served, to World War II and the story of the brave Minnesotans who fired the first American shots at Pearl Harbor, up through the conflicts in Korea and Vietnam, and ending with modern campaigns including Operation Desert Storm in Iraq and our military involvement in Afghanistan. Visitors gain a unique understanding of how warfare has evolved throughout history, from weaponry and field equipment to communications and technological advancements. But one thing remains constant: the incredible dedication and unsung heroes who have proudly served our military throughout Minnesota's rich history. The State Forces exhibit tells the story of Minnesota's state armed forces, most notably the National Guard, From pre-Civil War militia days to our present day, where Minnesota proudly boasts nearly 12,000 soldiers in our Air National Guard and Army National Guard. A special display honors General John Vesey, a Minnesota general who served as the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff under Ronald Reagan and was presented the prestigious Presidential Medal of Freedom. The Forts on the Frontier exhibit shows how Minnesota's early forts and garrisons kept the peace and aided in the settlement on our early frontier. Special attention is given to Fort Ripley, a U.S. Army outpost on the Mississippi River that existed from 1849 to 1877 within the boundaries of present-day Camp Ripley. This exhibit also examines Minnesota's Indian Wars and the political unrest from 1848 forward, including the bloody 1862 Dakota War in southwestern Minnesota. The Arms Room is an extremely popular collection of small arms from the 19th and 20th century. This collection includes pistols and revolvers, rifles and carbines, submachine guns, machine guns, edged weapons, ammunition, and so much more. Housed in the Arms Room is an impressive Luger collection on permanent display at the museum. Throughout history, medals and decorations have been coveted signs of recognition and rewards in our military. The Honors Room is home to a tribute to two of the many Minnesotans who have received America's top military honor, the Congressional Medal of Honor, plus a vast collection of military decorations past and present. This room also pays homage to Minnesota's own Charles Lindbergh, who was awarded a special Medal of Honor for his historic work in early aviation. Vehicles are always a popular part of our military's history, and at the Minnesota Military Museum, visitors are treated to the Story of the Jeep, a permanent collection that tells the story of the fabled American military Jeep and Minnesota's role in its development. 6 representative models are on display from early World War II until its phase-out in the 1980s. And a perennial favorite at the Military Museum are our extensive outdoor exhibits, where guests have the opportunity to explore unique military vehicles, tanks, aircraft, and artillery out on the museum grounds. Kids of all ages enjoy sitting in the cockpits of the aircraft or crawling into the tank holds. The museum is also home to the Court of Honor, an outdoor plaza and monument honoring individuals with distinguished records of military service. Visitors also are invited to inspect one of these ubiquitous Camp Ripley tin huts, outfitted as it was used in 1965. And for some unique viewing pleasure, you get to visit a latrine and experience how our troops were presented with all the comforts of home. What makes the Minnesota Military Museum truly unique and worth visiting multiple times are its ever-changing temporary exhibits. Through August of 2015, visitors are treated to a wonderful exhibit titled Minnesota's Two Civil Wars, 1861 to 1866. Which explores the war between the states and the 1862 Dakota War. This exhibit features a unique interactive kiosk where guests may learn how to load a musket, map the important battles of the Civil War, or hear popular tunes of the day. An emotional display titled The Vacant Chair demonstrates the struggles mothers and wives undertook while their sons and husbands were serving in these wars. The exhibit also explores the Dakota War of 1862, often described as Minnesota's own Civil War. Minnesota soldiers have experienced many unique duties throughout our military history. One such exhibit features the 99th Infantry Battalion during World War II, which tells the story of our Norwegian American soldiers. This Special Operations Group, formed at Camp Ripley in 1942, was made up of Norwegian-speaking soldiers who were trained to conduct special ops against the Germans in Norway. Women have played a major role in our military throughout history, and the Women in the Ranks exhibit brings to life these remarkable heroes and their contributions to our country. Another temporary exhibit on display explores the history of the famed Minnesota-based 34th Infantry Division, known as the Red Bulls, and traces its history from its origins in 1917 to its involvement in today's modern military campaigns. And as these temporary exhibits are enjoyed by visitors, preparations have begun for 2 new exhibits. In 2015, a new exhibit marking the 50th anniversary of Vietnam will be unveiled. And in 2016, the Minnesota Military Museum will present a very special exhibit commemorating the 100th anniversary of World War I. And once you've enjoyed your experience at the Minnesota Military Museum, you can take a little history home with you. The Sutler Store, the museum's gift shop, offers military and Minnesota-themed books, souvenirs, gifts, caps, posters, toys, and a diverse selection of military surplus clothing and equipment. All proceeds from the gift store go directly to support museum operations. There's no doubt that the Minnesota Military Museum houses impressive and important artifacts, but the museum is so much more. Its reference library on military history contains over 10,000 non-circulating books, manuscripts, and pamphlets, including military technical and field manuals. Special attention is given to collecting materials that specifically relate to the military experiences of Minnesotans and to military units with Minnesota ties. Paper archives include over 15,000 photographs, personal letters and diaries, scrapbooks, maps, posters, sheet music, periodicals and newspapers, and official correspondence, records, and orders. Whether you're a full-blown military historian or just an intrigued citizen, there's something for everyone at the Minnesota Military Museum. We encourage school groups, veteran organizations, and anyone interested in learning about Minnesota's incredible military history to visit. This is a special place where veterans are especially encouraged to share their own personal military history with their families, as well as use many of the useful tools available at the museum. Our hands-on approach and knowledgeable staff allows visitors the opportunity to experience history, whether it be from learning how to fire a musket or to sit inside an authentic tank or aircraft. This is a living tribute to the brave men and women of Minnesota who have played such important roles in our military history. Please visit the Minnesota Military Museum, where heroes live on.